Hey, it's Erica, and welcome back to another video. I have my little it's like an iced tea drink, but it's purple and it's really pretty, and it matches my purple overalls. But getting into today's video, it's going to be another story time video because you all seem to like my last story time, and I really liked the last story time, so I figured I would do another one. And in this video, I am throwing it back to when I was in kindergarten, and this was really my first experience with institutionalized ableism, and what that means is ableism being perpetuated by an institution, and in this case, the institution would be the educational system, and more specifically the school that discriminated against me for being disabled. So the story starts while I was still in kindergarten, and I was going into first grade, and at that time, like my physical therapist and like the principal of the elementary school I was meant to go to, they were talking about getting ready for me to go to that elementary school, and the elementary school was called New Lane Elementary School. It was much bigger than any other elementary school in the district, so the principal and my physical therapist thought it was too big of a school for a physically disabled child because it had multiple floors. But here's my thinking. I don't know about everybody else's elementary school experience, but in elementary school you mostly stay in your classroom all day, and you only leave for specials like art or music or even like recess. So I don't know why the size of the school was really relevant to whether a disabled child could attend it or not, but for whatever reason, this principal, and I'm not gonna name her name because I don't really want to get sued or anything like that, but this principal looked at me as a liability for being disabled. So while I was still in kindergarten, her and my physical therapist, who was terrible, by the way, I have more stories about her if you would like, but the principal of the elementary school and my current physical therapist took it upon themselves to take me out of kindergarten for a day and take me to the elementary school that I was supposed to go to, and they did this without letting my parents know beforehand, which I'm pretty sure is against the law, but let's just ignore that part. But anyway, so they took me on a bus to the elementary school, and they had me tour the elementary school, which no other students did. Like, it wasn't like it was a rite of passage or something. when you were going into elementary school, you just kind of went there and you didn't tour it or prove that you were eligible to go there, because it's elementary school, not college or some elite program. But so they took me on the bus to the elementary school, and they had me tour the elementary school. And by tour, I mean they had me, who was like 5 or 6 at the time. I had to walk through the entire school, open and close heavy doors by myself, despite me being a little kid and not having to do that as a little kid. But they made me do it because apparently disabled kids have to do that, even though able-bodied kids aren't forced to do that. But they had me do that, and I walked up and down multiple flights of stairs to prove that I could attend this school, even though there is an elevator at this school, and there are people who are perfectly capable of opening up a door for me, because I was a child. Let's not even mention I was a disabled child, but I was a young child, and I had to open and close doors that were really heavy that I probably couldn't open and close by myself right now. But somehow at 6 years old, I managed to do that. I don't know how. I walked the entire school up and down multiple flights of stairs, opened and closed doors by myself, and I did that. So I passed their little test, and so I got to attend my designated elementary school like all of the other kids who lived on my block. And so yeah, but unfortunately the story does not end there. When I got to first grade, the principal and my physical therapist, who was the same physical therapist, and also my first grade teacher, they would all kind of work together to try to get me to leave the school and go to the school where disabled kids all went, which is pretty disgusting. I'm trying really hard not to curse in this video because I don't want to get in trouble by YouTube, but I really want to, because this topic really gets me riled up. But so they did everything in their power to try to get rid of me. Like my physical therapist, remember, I was in first grade at the time, so I was a little kid, and sometimes I would walk through the hallways and get distracted by different things like posters on the wall or other kids that I knew would wave to me, so I would say hi, and I would get distracted from what I was doing in PT because I was a normal child, and I got distracted like children tend to do. But apparently for my physical therapist, this was a big issue. So she tried to claim that I had ADHD and that I wasn't equipped to attend that elementary school because not only did I have a physical disability, but I also had ADHD, which, by the way, I've never had ADHD, but even if I did, they should not discriminate against children with ADHD. That is wrong. So the fact that I don't have ADHD is besides the point, but actually it's not, because in this part of the story, I'm going to talk about how far they went to prove that I had ADHD to get me kicked out of the school. So my teacher and the principal all decided, they all decided that it would be appropriate to send like a questionnaire home to my parents, and also have all of my teachers and therapists also fill out that same questionnaire to see if I had ADHD based on their reporting, which I don't think that, I'm sure that's not the proper way to diagnose somebody with ADHD. But besides that, they decided that's how they were going to diagnose me. But luckily, my mom refused to do that, because it's your right to refuse that kind of thing. But that's pretty messed up that they would even try to do that, and that even if I did have ADHD and a physical disability, I should still be able to go to whatever school I want to go to. But that's none of my business. Insert Kermit the Frog meme here. But in all seriousness, it was very, I think that was one of the first moments in my life where I really knew that I was different, and where I felt unwanted by the world. So even though at the time I didn't necessarily understand the gravity of the situation, looking back, I understand it now, and I see it as one of the seeds being planted to indoctrinate me with internalized ableism. I'm getting a bit emotional, but it's okay. And like, I wanted to tell this story not to call out the elementary school, even though I did, but more so to just raise awareness of what disabled children have to go through. And keep in mind, this was long after the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, was passed, which prohibits discrimination based on disability. Well, actually, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act was the first law that did that. But anyway, this was long after both of those laws were passed, and I was still being discriminated against by my elementary school, and I'm sure it still happens to this day. Because actually, if you look at the law, it says that disabled children are only guaranteed education in the least restrictive environment, which can mean anything people want it to mean. So it's really like I'm grateful that these laws exist, but the law itself doesn't really tell you much. It doesn't really say you have to let children go to the school that all of the other kids that live where they live go to. Like, it doesn't say that in the law. It says the least restrictive environment, which can really mean anything depending on who's deciding it. And also, I wanted to tell this story because this is kind of a funny side story, but when I was in college last year and I was in a short story writing class, I wrote a short story, and in that story, a character was recounting that I experienced, and one of my able-bodied classmates actually told me not to include that anecdote in the story because it didn't seem realistic. Let that set in for a bit. It didn't seem realistic, and yet it happened in real life to me. And I think that just goes to show you how little awareness non-disabled people have to the biases and the discrimination that disabled people face every single day. And that just annoys me because the information is out there. People like me post videos on the internet to educate people. I'm also a writer. I've done freelance work for all different types of publications. I have my own blog. I have a podcast. And aside from just me, there are plenty of disabled people doing the emotional labor to educate people. And I can't educate everybody individually. I can't just be your personal teacher, but what I can do is I can put content out there and hope that people will consume it and will learn from it and will share it with their friends. And I don't just want you to consume my content, but I would really like you to also look for other disabled people speaking out about these sorts of things, because there are a lot of us out there and a lot of people doing really great things and working really hard to share their stories, but also to try to come up with solutions so we can live in a world where nobody is discriminated against. Sorry that I keep taking sips of my iced tea drink. But that's the end of this video. I really hope you liked this video, like not only enjoyed it or was entertained by it, but I hope you learned something from this video, because that's why I started posting on YouTube. I want to help educate people, and if if you learned something, please comment what you learned down below. And if you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up for me, because that really helps. It really helps when people watching engage with my content, so I can kind of get a feel for what people enjoy and what they would like to see more of. That really helps me out. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. I think I'm at like 43 subscribers, which is crazy, because when I picked up this account from where I left it off 2 years ago, I only had 6 subscribers. So in such a short amount of time, that number has really grown. And I am trying to get to 50 subscribers by my 24th birthday, which is on May 22nd. So we're almost there. And I would really like it if you would help me get to 50 subscribers by then. But I really hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching this, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.